Hey, hello hackers, welcome to our very first video on this channel. Today we'll be diving into the fascinating world of wiretapping with Wireshark. Wireshark, as you may know, is a powerful network analysis tool that helps us capture and analyze network traffic. And in this video, we will show you how to use Wireshark to perform wiretapping on a network without any fancy hardware and just with the level of cybersecurity. But before we dive in, let's make one thing clear. Wiretapping is no joke. It's a serious matter that requires proper authorization and compliance with the government laws and regulations. So let's keep it ethical, folks. I should not support any illegal activities, and this video is for educational purposes only. Please stay to the end of this video as we will cover lots of unusual techniques in listening to voice calls, the commands, the blogs related to this, video references related to this will be dropped down below, so check it out and hit the bell icon and subscribe to support this channel for future content like this. Thanks. So now let's set the stage with the tools we'll be using for the practical demos. So first off, a humble 4 gig to 8 gig RAM PC will do running Kali Linux, Ubuntu, or any type of Linux distro. And of course, we need our trusty sidekick, Wireshark and TCP dump. It's more like the Sherlock Holmes of network analysis for sniping out clues we need, and so much more. We will also need Moose Droid. Yeah, it's a free unlock SIP SIP and Android app. No subscriptions, just VoiceOverIP goodness for free. And we also need the Zofa client, another player in VoiceOverIP game that helps place audio and video calls along with other functionalities also. So sorry iOS users, we will need 2 Android devices to set up the lab for how we can be able to intercept these VoiceOverIP calls. We will need a SIP tool on our Linux machine, so we need to install the SIP tool so we can be able to create our VoiceOverIP local server, and we will need to register our SIP domain, which is the SIP domain, because every adventure needs a portal, right? Everything needs a domain to register for, so we need to register our SIP domain. Now let's break down some key terms before we jump into the action. Wiretapping. Wiretapping, on the other hand, is like eavesdropping on a conversation, but in the digital world. It's intercepting and listening on communications without consent, which can be done illegally if not authorized. So you must have been wondering and thinking, what's the SIP I've mentioned all this while? Oh, it's not a cup of coffee. It's just what makes voice over IP call possible. So what does it do? The SIP. Think of it as the conductor of a phone call. The SIP, or the session initiation protocol, is a protocol used to initiate, manage, and terminate communication sessions over the internet. Similar to how a phone number connects to you as a person, the SIP connects to devices over voice over IP calls through the internet. Cool. So we also have the SIPP. The SIPP stands for the Session Initiation Protocol Performance Testing Tool. Is used to start a SIP user agent server. So it's just like a server that is being used to transmit SIP data. So we also have the SIP request and SIP response. These are just messages passed between devices during a phone call. The SIP request is like dialing a number or sending a message to start a call, why the SIP response is like the acknowledgement or the result of that action. It's a back and front communication that makes it possible. SIP interaction structure. Think of it as a framework or a blueprint for how SIP messages are structured and exchanged between devices. It's like following a recipe. Each step and ingredient, which is the SIP message, is essential for the final dish, which is the successful call. So we also have the TCP dump. It's our digital surveillance camera for monitoring the internet activities. TCP dump is just a Kali Linux tool actually that captures network traffic and stores it for examination, allowing you to review what happened during a specific time or period. So we have the RTP protocol, which stands for real-time transport protocol or real-time protocol, as I might say it. Imagine RTP as the delivery service for audio and video data in real time. So it's responsible for transmitting the digital packets of a voice or video call from one device to another, ensuring smooth and timely delivery. Now we're done with our introduction to SIP 101 course. To have a network diagram to first explain this so we could understand what actually happens in the network layer when we capture the network traffic. The session initiation protocol SIP allows us to establish and or change voice or video calls. The voice or video traffic is being transmitted via real-time protocol, right? So SIP is an application layer protocol that uses UDP or TCP traffic. So by default, SIP uses port 560 UDP TCP for unencrypted traffic and uses port 561 for TLS encrypted traffic. So SIP is ASCII based and very similar to HTTP protocol as it uses a response and request model. Requests to the SIP client are made through SIP URI via user agent similar to the HTTP request made by a web browser. The following request types are common within SIP. We have the invite, we have the acknowledgement, we have the cancel, we have the register, we have the byte, we have the refer. So the invite invites an account to join the call. The ACK, also known as acknowledgement, confirms the regarding invite to initiate joining of the call. The cancels a queued call. The register registers a user over to the SIP server. Options show the options the caller has. The by ends the call between both sides, and the refer shows that the receiver needs to communicate through a third party by the information attached to the request. So we also have SIP requests and responses also, or the responses given to SIP domains given by our SIP domains, which are the 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, just like the HTTP web responses. So the 100 is informational, the 200 is the success, the 300 is redirection, 400 are failed requests, 500 are web server or internet server error, and the 600 are the global errors. So we also have typical SIP interaction structure to how the SIP records its flow sequence of how the RTP data are being passed back and forth from one user phone to another user phone. So let's just see the diagram below. So the diagram displays that a sender initiates an invite, right? Okay, so the receiver receives sends back 100 try and response, which is an informational. Then the sender starts ringing by sending 180 ringing response, right? and the receiver picks up the phone with a 200 success response of okay, right? So the acknowledgement now is now sent back to the initiator, right? And the call is being started using the RTP protocol. And now there's a buy request sent to end the call. So this is just like our normal HTTP web request and response. So now we're done with everything about SIP handling and protocols. So this diagram below explains how this attack will be carried out, anything from the internet layer to the firewall down to the physical layers, which are the routers and the network devices on the TCP/IP modem. The switch here serves as a bridge to share and distribute network devices in real time over a gateway for encapsulating this traffic to the VoiceOverIP server. We already have access to the VoiceOverIP server, so now we can begin eavesdropping into conversations right from the home service phone down to the management phone for this scenario. So what we'll just be doing in essence is intercepting John's VoiceOverIP call. First off, on our hacking mission, we head on to the VoIP client's website and we reach the download from Linux and we'll install it shortly. So once we install it, now we'll see we have to sign up our username and password, and this username comprises of our SIP domain server. So now before we do this, we have to get an SIP domain first. So getting an SIP domain now, this is kind of an issue, so we have to find a free SIP domain hosting service, and we have OpenTact, right, where they provide so many services such as VoiceOverIP, SMS, and so on and so forth. So we move on to register, right? You can fill up our password, first name, username, whatever information we want to fill out. So great. So we're on the dashboard, so we see a lot of information about the OpenTact. So we just click on to control app. We set up the control app that we'll be using to control. So we'll be using the Droid control app, and we'll be setting up a connection. So we have to go to our Kali machine now, and we have to set up an SIP server. So to set up an SIP server, we just run a quick command, which is just SIPP-SN UAS. Cool. When we hit enter, we see that our SIP server is already spawned up and is running on port 55060, and already creating the SIP connection, showing us invites, the messages, the retrans, and the timeout. So now you could just try to create a new SIP connection and just fill in the name, come to the policy, put no identity, select the minimum attestation value as B, set our port and our IP address, and we could also record the calls and just save it, but we'll not be doing this as we have done this before. So we'll just register our SIP domains quickly, and we'll specify the name, the port, and all that. So I'm just going to show you an example of how to do this. So I'm just going to click add, and I will set up my domain name quickly, and we just set it as tester1. Set up our country, our routing method as an SIP connection. I will choose one from the list, and we have to choose the SIP connection, which is ECOP, right? So we click save, and yeah, see it's success and it's been created. So we're just going to delete it as we're not using it for our demo. So we go to users, right? We hit the users button, and yeah, so we create our users. So now this is where the flow comes in, because we already have access to this SIP server. So we're just going to create our 3 users, which is the hacker, manager, and John Smith, which will be intercepting the calls from, right? So the hacker already has access to this domain, so that's why he was able to create users. So we're just going to head up to my numbers. So we can also add numbers, but the floor here we have to buy numbers. So if you have time, we could also test for this letter. So we could also create invite and send some kind of phishing mail and mail to the users, and also spoof their calls also. So quickly we'll send to John Smith, and when John Smith clicks this link, and he will be able to have access to the VoiceOverIP server, and he'll be able to host his own calls too. So So we type in our TCP dump command to listen on ports 5060, and we set up our snap length, right, to capture every snapshot of what we do, and we read out our file back to the debug.speaker. And I'm just going to type my password, and yeah, so we'll be capturing listening on our WLAN address first, and on the other side of the terminal we're listening on any host, right, which is our IP address, and we will be specifying the type also, which is our RTP, our real-time protocol, and we'll be listening to it in the verbose method, which is dash VVVVV, and specify our snap length and read our packet also. So I'm just going to press enter and read out, put in my password, and okay, so we begin listening to it on our host address, and now we're going to sign up our SIP user using our SIP domain we registered. So I'm just going to specify hacker at ecomserve dot is the SIP yeah, okay, SIP dot opentact.org, and we specify the password we want to use. So I'm just going to use a simple password, so we could also remember this. Okay, cool. So we select our host name, we press next, press skip. So it's going to keep scanning, and once it's found our SIP connection, and you're going to see that our SIP domain has begun to drop requests and responses that yes, there's an active connection in it, right? There's calls, there's invites, there's requests. So I'm just going to move on and register this quickly, so we can see how it's done. So I'm just going to press next, and you see up there that our hacker has been registered into the SIP server. Cool. So we probably need to spawn up 2 Wireshark interfaces just to be sure our packets are being captured properly. So we head up to John's phone, right, and we have to install the app. We head to our Google Play Store. We download the Zoifa Lite VoiceOverIP phone first, and we also install the Droid application. So we install our Zoifa Lite VoiceOverIP cell phone app. Same with the Droid, and wait for this to install. And it's done installing. Cool. So we could just head back to our Zoifa Lite app, and we see it's already installed. So we open it and we begin to sign up for our connection. We skip all this, yes. So I will set up John's name right here. So it's John Smith's account for his VoiceOverIP service. So I'm just going to set up John Smith as the server name. ecomserve dot sip dot opentact.org. Alright, so put in the password, a simple password, and click OK. So we set up our server, and it begins to scan if any domain is active like this. And we can now see our SIP TCP has been found. So we click allow. We set up our permissions. Yeah, we allow them to set up our do not disturb. So we allow other permissions also. And cool. See, our account is ready, right? So we have connected our SIP domain account into John's phone. Okay, so we move on to the next app, which is the Droid phone. And we open our application. So we could just keep this loading page, or we impute our details also, which is the John Smith's details, right? So we could just press cancel and head on, and we could agree, and we could just set up all those permissions, and cool, it's registering John into the service. So once this is done registering, we're just going to head up to our manager's phone and install our application, and also set this up also. So on our manager's phone, we'll see the apps have been installed. So we have a most Jordan as well for our client. So we open this quickly, we head up to our dashboard, and we see that our account has been registered and it's ready. Okay, so we could go back to our settings, click on accounts, and we can see our manager.acop serve is active. So we still go back and check our connectivity, and you can see everything is set in place. So we head up to our most joined application, and we can see our manager has been set up and it's already registering. So what we'll just do quickly, we're just going to try to call John Smith, right, with our manager's phone. And in process of calling John Smith, our hacker can also intercept this call and listen on to this call, and also record with Wireshark and intercept this request and every other request coming from our SIP connections that will be listening to on our hacker's device. So we tried to call John Smith with our manager's device, and we're just using the phone address. So we'll click up the call button, and we see that our call has been set up, and see our call has been routed. So we can see now our call is routed and it's going to terminate a bit, but in the process of being routed, our hacker has been able to intercept the first call, and we'll be able to see that this call now gets forwarded to our hacker and also John Smith. So John Smith now will now see the call log, and he'll be able to send back a call to the manager, and now our hacker will be able to know where the two SIP connections and domain users are coming from. So he'll be able to intercept what calls and what messages and what other data is being passed through that network. So we can see on our hacker's device that we're able to intercept the call, and we intercepted John's call and the manager's call also. So at this point I forgot to turn on my mic, so I could not actually listen to it, but hold on a sec. So I turned the mic off, and we'll be able to listen to what John was saying. And I'll also make another attempt to call this server, and you can also see that John's SIP connection is now directed to hackers connection. So same thing as the manager. So once we receive our call from the new manager, and we can intercept all these three calls together. Same with messages. Step back to a terminal, and we see that our SIP connection has been able to intercept and capture a lot of requests and response. So we're just going to terminate our TCP captures from TCP dump, and we save this, and we open our capture, and we see a lot of requests have been made. So first thing first, we would just like to check our statistics and check our protocol hierarchy well, so that it will be displayed well in a well organized function. So we could see that we have our RTP on our UDP diagram protocol. So I'm going to minimize the rest, and we see that we have our OPS, our quick, a lot of protocols has been captured also, such as the DNS and so much. So we could also head up to our search field and search for SIP, and we see our SIP is much, so we've intercepted more than enough requests. So we could also view this, and you can see that this is coming from through our hackers server. So we could also edit this packet, right, and change the name, so we'll be able to understand how this flows through the server. So I'm just going to change this to hacker network and click OK. And once this is done, every IP address serving as that will be changed to hackers network. Oh, one more thing, you need to go to edit to make sure this works. Preferences, name resolution, select the first two up and remove the last two down, and click OK. And we can see this is going to process our packets, and yes, so we are going to identify all our hackers network, so all the requests coming from the DNS server to the hackers network. So we're also going to edit this also, and maybe change this to ECOP server and click OK. Yes, so our packets look so much beautiful now. So you can see how our connections have been made from the network, hackers network, back to the ECOP server, back to our hackers network using our SIP protocol. So we could also head up to the flow sequence, and we begin to see the flow of the SIP connections from our hacker server, which is the hackers as ECOP, and we see the John Smith was able to connect to this, and we also see that the manager also will be connected to our hacker server, and cool. So we have each connection that made to it, and we could also play this through here, but we're not playing it. We're just checking out the flow sequence, and we'll see that this is the same diagram from earlier where I was illustrating the request and response of the SIP flows. So we could see different colors associated with this, and this color identify whether the SIP connections from to the SIP domain is being authenticated or not, and also identifies what kind of request and what kind of responses are being given. So to listen to this, we just head up back to the VoiceOverIP server, and we click on the VoiceOverIP calls, and we play the sequence and also listen to the calls that was made from John and the manager to our network. Okay. Can you hear me? Alright. And I guess this will be the end of the video for now. And you can also come back to the channel and also check. Sometime we'll be doing a VoiceOverIP penetration testing video on how to also hack into these SIP domains, or how to migrate from one VoiceOverIP server to another. And shout out to the team for making this video possible. You can check out the Twitter links below and follow them. Check out what they do on the timeline, and expect more from us. Bye.